Can you guys imagine a time where there really wasn't an EU? Well, now we do. We have two expanded universes, and one's just crap. But hey, no need to talk about that. Let's go. I'm going to take you back to the late 70s. We're going to talk about the original Star Wars comics from Marvel. Yeah, I get to review this finally. Not all of it. I'm only going to be talking about the first 6 issues today, because I'm going to be reviewing the movie adaptation of Star Wars, which I also have a paperback of. So, I don't need to give you a synopsis of what Star Wars is. You probably all have seen A New Hope, so there's no reason for me to even talk about that. But what I can talk about is a little bit of the history behind this series, and also a little history on the EU. It's about 1976. Star Wars is being filmed, but no one knows about this thing. The executives at Fox are crapping their pants because they think it's going to fail. So George Lucas is having people reach out to sources to market this movie. One of them, of course, was Kenner, with their empty box campaign, where you could buy a box with a certificate and get the action figures you wanted because they couldn't mass produce them in time because Kenner was too small of a company. The partnership with Del Rey, with Alan Dean Foster to write not only the movie adaptation of the first movie, but also write a pseudo sequel called Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and it would be the official movie sequel if the movie bombed. And lastly, they struck a deal with Stan Lee to make some Star Wars comic books. So this is where we get the original movie adaptation of Star Wars. Now, there are so many printings of this, it's ridiculous. But it's a really good story. Let me get you the information here. The first 6 issues were written by Roy Thomas, and the illustrations were by Howard Chaykin. Howard Chaykin, of course, has done tons of Marvel stuff, and I wasn't familiar with Roy Thomas, but I really enjoyed his writing in this. It has the feel of Star Wars. And that's the cool thing about this book, is it feels like the movie. The dialogue's not exactly the same. It's a little more totalitarian and full of more exposition, but that's how comics were written at the time, so that's where you get that from. Also, Howard Chaykin's art is really, really, really good in this series. There are some panels that I find absolutely gorgeous. There's some goofiness here and there, but it's really good. It's a really good 6-issue story. Some really cool things in it. It sets up Luke Skywalker and Biggs Darklighter's friendship, which was cut out of the movie for pacing purposes. So when Biggs dies in Star Wars, spoilers for a movie that's nearly 40 years old, there's some more meaning behind it. It's very sad. But we get into what people would consider continuity errors. Because at this time, Star Wars, they didn't really know what Star Wars was going to look like. So everyone's lightsaber's red. Vader's eyes are bright red instead of being the sort of scarlet that they are in the original movie. Chewbacca looks more like Sasquatch. Jabba the Hutt actually shows up. You remember the infamous special edition scene where they have the CG Jabba and it never looks good and serves no purpose? Well, Jabba isn't a Hutt in this, or at least he's not like a slug type creature. He's more of what is the word? He's a bipedal thing with some sort of weird face. It looks kind of like a cat's ass. But that's beside the point. I will say, it's weird to have Jabba in there, but it's not bad. It's the one thing I find unnecessary, but I always found that unnecessary. needless to say, we have a whole bunch of interesting stuff in this. The Death Star looks slightly different. Lots of things look slightly different. And of course, Luke's not part of Red Squadron, he's part of Blue Squadron. Little differences. Now, are these continuity errors? Well, no. It was always, the movies were number one. G-Canon, George Canon, is always first, then the EU. So, there you go. Now, what did I think of this series, these first 6 issues? Give it 5 out of 5 stars. It's the best movie adaptation of the time. And even probably one of the best ever. It's just so well done. It's paced really well. It's as many issues as it needed to be, which it's 6. Which, for most, I think that's the longest a Star Wars movie adaptation's been. It's longer than The Force Awakens because it didn't have one. Anyway, how do you get this story? Because there's a lot of printings of it. You can pick up the original issues. The first prints are astronomically expensive, but they've reprinted these so many times, at least single issue wise, that you can find them for pretty cheap single issues. If trade's the way to go, then there's several different printings of the trade. They did a special edition one for '97. This one's a special one because it came out when they re-released the movies in 2007 individually with the original versions. They had these special edition ones through Target, I think, where they came with the trades. But the thing with these trades is they recolored them. Mainly to make Chewie look less like Sasquatch and so on and so forth. It's got more of a brown tone, which I don't care for. Also, you can get them. I'm not sure what they look like because I've never really looked closely. There's a Dark Horse omnibus called Episodes 1 through 6, and the title says it all. It's Episodes 1 through 6 is Star Wars. Also, you could get them in I think you could get them in the classics, a long time ago trades, as well as the Star Wars Marvel Dark Horse omnibuses. I think they were called the A Long Time Ago Omnibuy, and there's 5 of them. It's in the first one, I think. I'm not sure. I never really looked at those at the time because these for the longest time were considered secondary canon or just not canon at all because there's some really goofy things that later great authors would explain and use to their advantage. And lastly, you can get them currently. This is the easiest way to get them. It's a little expensive. You get the original Marvel Years Omnibus from Marvel, which has issues 1 through 44 and the first annual from the original Star Wars run. There's a lot of really good writing in here, so on and so forth. Also, there's an Epic collection coming out that will have the early Marvel stuff as well. And these Epic collections are well worth your time. They're a little pricey, but they're a really high quality book. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're going to be here a long time before we hit the road to Crucible again. But I'm really excited to talk about these. I've been wanting to talk about these for a long time. I've been wanting to read these for a long time because I've only read the movie adaptations from these series. So, yeah, I'm excited. Join me next time when we go through issues 7, I think through 7 through 10. That might not be 100% accurate, but it's accurate enough. They look like they're in the same arc. So, anyway, guys, have a nice day, and until next time.